In other world news, some members of the Kurdistan Workers Party, the PKK, have laid down their arms at a ceremony in the Kurdish region of northern Iraq. The fighters destroyed their weapons in the presence of officials from the central government in Baghdad and the Kurdistan regional government. In May, the PKK announced it was ending its four-decade armed struggle against the Turkish state. Its fighters have been based in the mountains of northern Iraq for the past decade. A Kurdish militant group, the Kurdistan Workers Party, was founded in 1978 by Abdullah Ocalan. In 1984, it launched an armed insurgency against Turkiye, seeking independence, but later pushing for Kurdish rights and autonomy. More than 40,000 people have been killed in the conflict. The PKK operates from mountain strongholds in northern Iraq. Turkiye regularly strikes its bases, despite Iraq saying the attacks violate its sovereignty. It is also linked to YPG fighters in Syria, a key US ally against ISIL. This has created tension between Turkey and the US as Ankara sees the YPG as part of the PKK. Turkey and the United States, as well as the European Union, classify the PKK as a terrorist organization, while its supporters call it a resistance movement. Al Jazeera's Mahmoud Abdelwahed was at the disarmament event in northern Iraq.
Here in the vicinity of Sulaimaniyah province of the Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdish region, a group of fighters belonging to the Kurdistan Workers Party, known as the PKK, have destroyed their weapons as a goodwill gesture to start making peace with Turkey after decades of armed conflict. This is in response to a call earlier this year by their commander, Abdullah Ocalan, who has been in prison in Turkey for more than 25 years. The PKK fighters have been occupying hundreds of villages in the northern region, namely near the border with Turkey. And amid the conflict with the Turkish forces who have been chasing PKK fighters in those mountains, shelling and targeting their locations with airstrikes. And that has resulted in destroying thousands of hectares of farmlands and orchards belonging to the farmers, the Iraqi farmers in the northern semi-autonomous Kurdish region. The Iraqi government has banned the PKK since April last year. We understand that the PKK has been designated a terrorist organization by Turkey, the United States and the European Union. We understand that this is just the beginning. This is a step forward towards achieving peace, but the PKK fighters have a number of demands on top of them, that Abdullah Ocalan be released and sent to northern Iraq to lead the democratic peaceful process. Mahmoud, Abdelwahed, Al Jazeera, in Sulaimaniyah, northern Iraq.
And Sinem Koseoglu is in Istanbul with reaction from the Turkish government.
Turkey sees Friday's disarmament as a historic breakthrough, especially as Ankara believes that this is the most concrete step so far taken to end the decades-long conflict between the PKK and the state. Of course, this peace process, the second peace process, was backed and approved by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his nationalist leader, MHP leader Devlet Bahçeli, with the mediation efforts of the pro-Kurdish Dem Party. The negotiations started months before Bahçeli's announcement called to Öcalan last October to disband his organization. A couple of months after that, we heard Abdullah Öcalan calling his organization to disband and disarm, as the conditions in Turkey have totally changed and there is no need for an armed struggle or any need for seeking autonomy. That was very important for many circles in Turkey. The Nationalist Party leader, just after the disarmament ceremony, he said that the jailed leader, the founding leader of the PKK, Abdullah Öcalan, kept his promise, and he commended the pro-Kurdish Dem Party, whom he accused of being a partner of terrorism for many times before. He commended the Dem Party for its firm stance in these negotiations. And for many, especially a ruling AK Party, this is a huge step for Turkey, a terror-free Turkey. This is the slogan of the government right now. Of course, there are concerns. Many are curious whether there will be any spoilers or any offshoots or any sabotages. But of course, time will tell Time will show us whether these will happen. But the real assessment about all this process with every details will come from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who will be addressing his own party in Ankara on Saturday. Sinem Koseoglu, Al Jazeera, Istanbul.
I spoke earlier to Yusuf Alabarda, who's a former Turkish military officer. He says PKK fighters are no longer operating inside Turkiye, and this has made peace possible.
In 2010, Mr. Erdogan was very interested in finishing the PKK terrorist organization and opening a democracy channel inside Turkey. But what was the difference that in those times there were 6,000 armed members of PKK who was operating terror activities inside Turkey. For that reason, it couldn't achieve it. And also we know that in the 15 July coup attempt, the FETÖ organization was very effective in the channels of bureaucracy inside Turkey, which was bureaucratically sabotaging such kind of activities. But now there is no single terrorist inside Turkey to bury or to lay down their weapons. The terrorist who is laying their weapons inside Iraq, because in Turkey finished all the terror groups inside this country. That is the reason that they are burying their weapons inside Iraq, which has 2,000 still terrorist members of PKK terrorist organization inside Iraq. So that differences is very important. You cannot make a peace deal while the terrorist organization is very active inside your country. But now there is no terrorist activity inside Turkey.